In the previous lessons on meiosis, we learned that meiosis does three important things. It reduces chromosome number by 1/2, it generates sex cells with unique combinations of chromosomes, and it concentrates good and bad mutations along chromosomes. Here we see a picture of sexual reproduction in humans. Humans are animals, multi-celled animals, and let's pretend they have 2 chromosomes in their body cells. So here we have the female and 2 chromosomes. Both the mother and father in their sexual organs, in the ovaries for females and in the testes for males, are going to be producing sex cells. And again, chromosomes duplicate. We have the recombination happening here. The lookalike chromosomes are doing the tango, and there's chromosome breaks and then recombinations that will generate variation. And then we have the random assortment. The red one might go left or it might go right. The blue one could go either way. And the result is we get 4 sex cells, eggs for female, sperm for male, that have half the number of chromosomes as the original body cell. So 2 here, 1 chromosome here, the original body cell had 2, and they're all unique combinations of genes. And then, of course, some of these sex cells will get lucky and they will find each other to form the fertilized egg of the next generation. Now, in this lesson, we'll take a look at one more interesting thing about meiosis. And to see that, let's consider this picture that shows the early development of a multi-celled organism like an animal. Now, all animals can trace their beginnings back to the fertilized egg. So here's a picture of a fertilized egg. That's a sea urchin fertilized egg. And the first thing that will happen then is that one cell is going to go through mitosis to produce 2 cells. Here we see it under the microscope. These 2 cells then, this is a 2-cell embryo. These 2 cells then will go on to go through mitosis again and to form a 4-cell embryo and then an 8-cell and so on. So we can think of animal development as the initial fertilized egg is going to go round and around through the cell cycle. And so there will be mitosis and then interphase and mitosis and interphase, and you'll just be making more and more body cells. Now, let's look at a little bit more detail of that process. Here we have sperm and egg meeting, and we have mitosis, and the 46 indicates for humans there would be 46 chromosomes. Every time a cell goes through mitosis, the 2 daughter cells will have the same number of chromosomes as the parent. This is a 1-division event, and so what mitosis is doing is making more and more cells with the same chromosomes. An interesting thing happens during animal development, though, that cells begin to specialize into things like skin cells and nerve cells, blood cells, muscle cells, liver cells, and intestine cells. And in the sexual organs, the sperm or the ovaries or the testes, that special division process will be happening. That's not mitosis, it's meiosis. So meiosis is occurring in cells in the sexual organs. Those cells would have been produced by mitosis, but then they undergo the special meiosis process. So what's in this box here is happening in ovaries and testes, the sexual organs that are producing sex cells. Again, like all body cells that have 46 chromosomes, the immature sex cells have 46, but then when they go through that special 2-division process, they're going to have 23 chromosomes. Now here's the interesting thing to think about. We can ask, what kind of futures will all of these cells have? Well, we're very familiar that animals and plants, they do eventually die, right? So the body cells of animals, their destiny is death. But that's not necessarily the case for sex cells. And that's the interesting thing, because some of these sex cells will get lucky and find their partners. And when they do, they are creating the next generation. And then those fertilized eggs will develop into adults that have the potential to have future children, etc. So all of us existing today can trace our ancestry back to parents that survived and were successful in finding mates and in mating and producing offspring. So in a sense, the sex cells are potentially immortal. That's in contrast to body cells. Body cells will die. Sex cells can carry on, but they can only carry on if they find their partner. So there will be lots of eggs that don't find sperm. There will be lots of sperm that don't find eggs. Those cells will perish. But the lucky sex cells, in a sense, are immortal. So this will be our final thing about meiosis. In addition to these three important things, it is producing cells that are potentially immortal. They are escaping the destiny of death. So in a sense, the evolution of sex and sex in multi-celled organisms is connected with death. While body cells have the destiny of death, the sex cells are potentially immortal.